Hey everybody, it's Alex from Jones Farms Coaching here in Vancouver, Washington. And today I want to talk about something that has been kind of circulating around the blogosphere and local Facebook groups in comments here and there. It's been peppered around. Depending on the situation, usually there's something that has to do with crime. And people are usually blogging or leaving in the comments that they wish that Washington had stand your ground laws. Now, is stand your ground laws different than what we have here in Washington? Do Washington residents actually have stand your ground laws? Well, the answer is actually yes. However, we don't call it stand your ground. We call it no duty to retreat, right? So stand your ground laws are the same but different. When we look at the no duty to retreat, it's a doctrine, right? And we look at things from, with different case studies that have happened in the past that determine at the end of the day, to make it simple, that you do not have a duty to retreat if you are faced with force or deadly force and you're in a place where you're legally allowed to be, i.e. in your homes is a good example, right? So you don't have a duty to retreat. But here's the caveat. The force that you use must be reasonable, okay? It has to be reasonable. Now here's the thing. A lot of people think that when they hear stand your ground in these other states, that it just means that you can just blow somebody's ass off for pissing you off or for, attacking you physically. That's not the case. The key word here is reasonable, right? Now, just because you don't have a duty to retreat, does that mean that you shouldn't? I always give my advice and my consultation is if you can avoid a situation, by all means, please avoid it. Please evade it. Please escape it. That's my advice. However, in the state of Washington, you don't have a duty to retreat as long as you're in a place where you're legally allowed to be. Now, stand your ground, no duty to retreat. In both of those, the force has to be reasonable, right? So if someone punches you in your face, you don't have the right to pull out your gun and shoot them, okay? In some cases, you don't even have the right to pull out your gun and threaten them with deadly force, okay? Now, I know this is very hard for some people to maybe understand and actually accept, but this is the law. I spent a lot of time on social media going back and forth in comments trying to give people the proper education, right? The one thing you got to understand is this usually comes up in regards to theft of someone's property on social media, right? You got people that are, their homes, their cars are being burglarized or vandalized. And there are people in our community who believe that they should be able to take their gun out and or threaten and or pull the trigger on someone who is threatening their property. You cannot use you cannot use deadly force to protect property, okay? I'm going to say that again. You cannot use deadly force to protect property in the state of Washington. You just can't do it. So just because somebody comes up and they're stealing your car, the law says you can't pull out your gun and threaten them and or pull the trigger, right? Now, I can see if someone was coming to kidnap your child, okay, that may be grave bodily harm and or death to that child, and deadly force may be authorized at that point. So when people ask me a lot of times, they ask me dozens of scenarios, like if the bad guy does A and B, can I do this? And the answer is never a black and white yes. My answer is always, it depends, right? Now, there's some factors that go into legal use of deadly force. And if you don't know these factors, then you're going to have a problem if you are a concealed carry self-defender, okay? I'm going to go through them really quick, and I hope that you take the time to research them. Reason why I said it is because a lot of people spend a lot of time on the internet doing nothing really productive. And if you're a concealed carry holder, I will tell you that if you're not educating yourself, getting more knowledge about the legal use of force, you're going to have some problems if you ever pull that trigger. Once you pull the trigger, you can't take the bullets back. You can't take the incident back. It's there forever. And believe it or not, your life is going to change forever. Okay? So those three factors are this threat has to have an intent, must show or express or imply an intent to actually hurt you. Okay? They also must have the ability. Okay? Meaning that they should have a weapon of some sort, and or they may be disproportionality in size and strength, i.e. smaller women, elderly people, people with disabilities, right? And then you also have opportunity. Does this person have the opportunity to hurt you with the actual means and ability, if that makes sense? Now, those are just three factors, but they are essential three factors that you must have at the same time during that incident, right? It has to be immediate, and you got to have those factors present during that self-defense incident in order for you to be justified to use deadly force. I'm going to use another video where I break down each factor and go into a little more detail and give more examples. But the purpose of this video was really just to say, or really just to answer the question, do Washington residents have the stand your ground law? And essentially the answer is yes, but we call it something else, right? But however you look at it, it doesn't matter. Anytime you use force, whether it be physical force or deadly force, the force has to be reasonable, okay? So even if you were to shoot someone, great example, and I'll say this before I get off the video, great example we've seen in the recent month where a guy in Texas shot an armed robber in a restaurant, right? The bad guy was robbing people. And the citizen pulled out his gun and shot the guy. Well, as he shot the guy fell on the ground and he was kind of disabled. And the good guy with the gun at that time walked up to him and put more bullets into his head. That is unreasonable, okay? His threat, the bad guy was already down. He could have covered him, but he didn't have to walk up to him and shoot him 1, 2, or 3 more times in the head. That's unreasonable force. Another example is if someone pushes you down to the ground and you get up and you shoot them, that's unreasonable, okay? So anytime you use force, whether it's physical and or deadly force, it has to be reasonable. I need people to understand that. It's not reasonable to chase somebody down on foot as they drive away out of your driveway and you have your gun and you begin to shoot at them because you don't want them to steal your car. That's unreasonable. And at the end of the day, the law is going to definitely hold you accountable to that. So, yes, you do have the no duty to retreat doctrine here in Washington. You do not have the duty to retreat if force or deadly force is being used against you in an immediate situation in a place where you're legally allowed to be, your homes, your jobs, or at a restaurant, something like that. So with that being said, I want y'all to take to heart some of the things that I said. If you don't believe me, then go and research this stuff for yourself. I highly, highly encourage all you concealed carriers and self-defenders out there that are carrying guns in the state of Washington to research and study this information. Be mindful of it because I'm telling you, it can save your life, it can save your freedom, it can save your finances. So with that being said, stay vigilant, stay safe. Peace.